The legit journalist, the High Nine News. I will tell you, I've been out for a couple weeks. A few people came up to me at MJ BizCon and said, "Yo, I know you from High at Nine News." So this might actually be my claim to fame. So
shout out to them.
Yeah, shout out to the viewers. Thanks for coming up.
100%.
So my story this week comes from my colleague, Kara Wheatstock, here at Green State. Japan opens doors for patients, but closes cannabis loopholes. So Japan is set to allow cannabinoids in medical products following approval from the House of Councilors, also known as Parliament. This comes less than a month after clearing the House of Representatives, the Japan Times reports. Now that the law is announced, it should be around 1 year until it goes into effect. Law would effectively allow doctors to prescribe Epidiolex, a CBD anti-seizure medication approved in the US and Europe. Japan started phase 3 of a clinical trial on the drug in December 2022. Despite a win for medical patients, the laws actually tightened consumption rules in other areas. Formerly, there was a loophole in the 1948 cannabis control law that didn't overtly ban the consumption of cannabis. It just banned the possession, trade, and cultivation. This was meant to protect hemp farmers who unknowingly absorbed psychoactive cannabinoids while growing hemp. However, public opinion led lawmakers to close the gap, explicitly banning cannabis consumption due to a perceived rise in interest from young people. As the new law is enacted, 2 cultivation licenses will be established. One will grant farmers the right to grow cannabis for medical products, and the other will be reserved for hemp farmers growing plants with little to no THC. Despite a rigid anti-cannabis stance, Japanese farmers have been cultivating hemp for decades. I'm going to screw this pronunciation up for sure. Tochigi Prefecture is the hub for industrial hemp agriculture in the country, where a low THC strain called Tochigi Shiro was bred in 1982. The plants are not for getting high, but farmers still face stigma from their communities, according to a story from the Japan News. Perhaps passing this new bill and building a licensing structure in the blossoming space will bolster community support for the tradesmen. Law is a forward step for a country that has been known to sentence people to up to 7 years in prison for possessing small quantities of cannabis. First looks at the bill may be disheartening for adult use consumers hoping for a legalized land of the rising sun, but it's not all bad. Patients seeking cannabis medicine will now have access to more cannabis products in the country, benefiting many. It has also initiated the design of a structure that could evolve into a more robust industry in the future. So, what do you guys think about this? Japan has always been wildly anti-cannabis. Is this a step in the right direction? Is it simply low-dose CBD? Will anything ever come of it? What do you guys think?
This is great news for Japan. This is a big step for them. Yes, this is great.
Yeah, it's kind of like it was like a half step forward and kind of a half step backwards because because they said if you don't have medical a card or anything like that, like it's 7 years mandatory.
Well, it's funny because that was always about like possession, and so I'm wondering about how they're going to know if someone consumed cannabis. Like, are they all of a sudden going to start like testing people's blood or something to figure out if they've been smoking pot, or is it more like they're just like, well, you know, we want to make sure that we have our bases covered, so we're writing this into the law.
Well, at the same time, Rochelle,
it was originally going to be 5. It was 5 years mandatory prison sentence, and now it's 7 years mandatory prison sentence. So maybe it's just rhetoric to scare the people.
Well, no, but at the same time, if you go to a hospital in Japan and they draw your blood, that might be the cue for them to figure that part out. You know what I mean? They might not just be testing people just off the streets, but it just might be when you subject yourself to different things, then all of a sudden these tests are going to come up.
They're telling you what they're going to do. We know what it takes for them to find out if you've been smoking weed or not. So we know what they're going to do. They're going to test you when they want to test you. That's what it seemed like. And I personally feel like this. Me being a proud conservative, I care about America first. So unless this is going to make PlayStation games great again, I don't really even.
I mean, why wouldn't it? Why wouldn't it? If they're loosening up their cannabis policies out there.
No, because some guy out there is going to get 7 years. So it doesn't matter.
They will make an example out of somebody.
Somebody who creates, they're going to do it to somebody who really does great gaming software. He's going to be made the example out of. This is just going to make PlayStation games horrible. I'm not.
Are you serious? Get out of here. You're bad.
Yo, do you know what kind of pressure that is, dude? To know that if you even remotely smell like marijuana, somebody might just grab you up and just start probing you.
It's been like that forever though in Japan. That's been the status quo in Japan for a long time. Like that's not something new.
It's horrible. That's horrible, dog.
Yeah, but you remember, but the market is insane. Like you get a crazy high price for flour and for concentrates out there.
Yeah, you get 7 years if they catch you doing something. I don't know. Crazy, dog.
You do. It's all risk.
7 years is a lot of time. It's a long time.
They don't honor our constitutional rights either. So they'll snatch your ass up, stick a probe up your ass, and do what they want with you, and you don't have anything to say about it.
You can't blame it on the aliens.
Yeah, a big shout out. A lot of people remember Lee Scratch Perry, the reggae legend. He actually wrote a letter to the Japanese government to get Paul McCartney out of prison because he was arrested for cannabis possession in Japan, in Tokyo.
Wow.
Yeah, isn't that what that song Band on the Run is all about? Him getting busted in Japan?
Yes. And they do not care how big of a name you are or whatever. But apparently Lee Scratch Perry, rest in peace. He had pull back then, and the Japanese people, they love their reggae music.
That's it. That's
how ironic.
That's a very cute little.
They love reggae music more than they love the Beatles, apparently.
Apparently, or maybe they just.
Sir Paul was sentenced to 10 years. And
maybe he should have said. Maybe he should have said, "No, man, this is not the marijuana." And they would have been like, "Okay, I'm sorry. You go ahead and go."
You should have just said it's THCA.
Believe it or not,
I didn't light it up. It's not illegal.
It has a pungent smell to it too. Delta 8 smells like flour. Delta 8 lit smells like flour. It has a pungent smell to it too. So he could have just said it was Delta 8. They would have treated him like he was from Austin, Texas.
Sprayed Delta 8 flour? Like hemp?
Yeah, he could have said this is some Delta 8 hemp. It stinks the same. And you burn it stinks the same.
Wow.
They're all still political crimes, guys. I mean, using drugs, especially smoking weed, is not a crime involving moral turpitude. They're because politicians wanted to do this. So they're political crimes, and there's too many people doing them anymore to just ignore them. And there's a long time where the people that smoke weed weren't in large enough numbers to make any difference, but now it does. When we talked about today, Ohio went, oh, shit, right. Man. People want to do this, better let them, because people are doing this. These are political crimes. You can't justify throwing somebody in prison for smoking weed. I mean, I went there. I don't know, Tony, you went there, and it's like, okay, I'm sitting here for what? Because I gave a sick person some weed? That makes no sense. I didn't beat anybody up. I didn't try to steal anybody. I ain't a liar. I'm not a murderer. That's where, real crime is. They came to me
to get it. They traveled, sought me out, came to me to get something that they felt they needed to deal with life. I mean, at the end of the day, you got to think about this. Why aren't we holding the people accountable that's making people's lives suck so much that people are willing to go and shoot a needle in their arm in broad daylight in San Francisco? How can life be so horrible that the only thing you can think of is just by destroying your life more by being in the streets and doing stuff like that? And then they don't want to hold themselves accountable for the division they're creating. They don't want to hold themselves accountable for the sick and twisted, demented way the whole population as a whole is thinking. It's me, horrible aspect of thinking. And they're responsible for it. They're responsible for their hate. They're the leaders. When someone is the leader in my household, when things go bad, when we're late on something, or if money's messed up, I'm the leader of my household. I'm responsible. Whether or not I spent the money or not, it doesn't matter. I'm a leader of my household. I'm responsible. So, and they're not taking responsibility for their actions. They're just locking up they're locking up and trying to scrub away the harm that they're actually doing to society. That's it.
Well, these are drugs of despair, Tony. And see, they're really going after drugs of despair. We have a country that a lot of people are in despair about. Okay, so when you use substances that help you with despair and they throw you in jail, this is a circle jerk you just cannot get out of. I mean, I was the white guy that they went after for weed. We were told, hey, you should have never gotten involved in this. Okay, why?
You know
because
better.
they want to go after people of color. That, I mean, let's just be
It's the
blunt
truth.
here.
Mm-hmm.
I was not. I mean, I was told, hey, you're the golden children. Molly and I, you should never gotten involved in this. Well, why? What we did was righteous, okay? It was right. And we were thrown in fucking prison for 5 years for doing the right thing. No one wants to talk about that part of this. Trying to control drugs with the law never worked. We just
Watch
passed.
this, bro. They're drug dealers.
The anniversary of the alcohol prohibition. Doesn't fucking work.
They bring the drugs in, right? They bring the drugs in, and then this is what they do. They'll have a confidential source. They'll give drugs to this. They'll take the drugs away from the drug dealer. Then they'll take the drugs out of evidence to give it to a confidential informant. They'll let this person sell these drugs, destroy the community in order to get another drug dealer caught up in another rap. So they send out drug dealers. They give the drug dealers drugs and money and allow them to create a fictitious life. They sell these drugs and dispense it throughout the community, harming people just so they can get someone else that's in the community doing the same thing they were sent in the community to do in the first place. If you watch, anyone watching, please, I implore you, watch American Made. I implore you to go watch the El Chapo story that's on Netflix, and it breaks down how your government has been intricate in the drug trafficking throughout this country. They're doing it on purpose. They create the error in the environment, which is harmful. They allow the drugs to come in here, and then they lock you up for the drugs they allow to come in here. This is the cycle that they've created.
Yeah, what I would like to say here is that I hope that a new leaf is turned in Japan and they start moving towards legalization, because I can't imagine a more beautiful place to get high as hell. A more serene place, a more zen place on earth than to go out to Okinawa and just blaze the fuck up.
And hand rolls are...
Damn, he just made that sound pornographic.
But hand rolls are so amazing.
Fantastic. That'd be a fantastic trip.
Sushi's one of the best foods to eat when you're high.
Yeah, just eating sushi.
Yes.
Eating fresh sashimi.
Getting it.
Just out
with
there.
Nothing but a silk.
In nature.
Nothing but a silk. What's the silk gishi on? What's the robe? What's the robe's name? With this? What's that? What's the robe
kimono?
they have there?
Kimono.
A kimono. Nothing but a silk kimono. Big fat one lit. And some sushi in front of you, California rolls.
And your slides. And
that is one place, Nick Bradley, that is one place I would be wearing flip-flops.
Yeah.
I would wear flip-flops. and look, and I would do the in-between toe flip-flops just to keep it culture, keep it culture appropriate.
You rock the John Clintox?
I'll get the thong flops. Give me the thong flops. Just give me the thong flops.
Yes. And on that, we're going to go to a commercial. We're going to be right back.